really been a grinder my whole life, and I think my dad really taught me that growing up. If you really put your mind into something, you'll get to the top at it.
So when did you know that they weren't going to take you? Did you know before the draft, or did you find out when they announced the call?
During, I guess.
You haven't given up hope yet, I'm assuming. Then your goal is to make the AFL.
No, more driven than ever. That's just me with footy. I'm always thinking about it. It's a sick obsession.
Welcome to the West Sport Show. This is brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Now, this is a very special episode today. We're going to go a bit waffle this time, and I'm here with East Fremantle star Milan Murdock. Milan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mitch. Happy to be here.
So, Milan, let's start off with the name Milan. Where does that come from?
Mate, I'm actually not too sure. I've got two older brothers as well who are Paris and Roman. So maybe conceived there. Dad, he always changes his answer when I ask him. So I'm actually not too sure. I should probably know though.
Milan Murdock. No, but you're an absolute star of the waffle, Milan. So let's go back to, I suppose, the start of your football journey at East Fremantle. Played a lot of Colts there. Were you part of the under-18 system at all?
No, I actually hadn't played my first state game until I was 22, I think, so 3 years ago. So I didn't get talked to by any of that stuff or any of that, no.
So what were you doing when you were playing at East Fremantle? Were you just playing Colts? Where was your junior club, and how did you sort of begin your journey?
I was at East Fremantle juniors, and then I went to Woodcock and won 2 flags. I went to Christchurch Grammar School. I was playing PSA there. And then, obviously I played Colts at East Fremantle until I was 17. I was lucky enough to make my league debut at 18 under Robbie Wiley. When East Fremantle was struggling at the time. Lost to East Perth by 100 points that day, and I think Juppy had 6 goals kicked on him.
Juppy would love that. Former captain Matt Jupp.
Yeah, that's
But you had 27 disposals that day.
Yeah, you've got a good memory, mate. Best on ground for East Freo.
So talk about then your football journey. Have you always wanted to play football? How did you get to East Fremantle? Was it football all the time? Was it basketball as well? We know a lot of guys do that. Cricket. How did you go as a young athlete? Yeah,
I was always just, I guess, in love with footy. It's an obsession for me my whole life, really. My 2 older brothers played it as well, so they're always helpful for me in my footy career.
And so the reason we've got you in here, of course, is you're an absolute star of the waffle. So 3-time Simpson medalist, premiership player at the Sharks. So let's talk about, though, East Fremantle as a football club. It's been an interesting couple of years for this club. You won a premiership when you were essentially the travelling nomads because your base was being redeveloped. There was all the controversy around it, the surface and everything. You were at the WACA and then you were playing home games elsewhere. What's it been like the last few years as an East Fremantle footballer with that success, but then also having to deal with so much adversity? I think you were training at all sorts of community grounds and not ever really settled. Yeah,
looking back at it, it was such a struggle for us, especially last year. I think that was just the last straw for us, and I think that really hurt our season. We were just so tired and fatigued coming up against Claremont, just playing away from home every week for the whole preseason as well, and then training. We wouldn't know where we were training until the day we were training. So looking back, it was a lot harder than what I remember it being. But I was extremely proud of how, the team handled it. Everyone was just happy as anyway, just to be around each other and playing footy with each other because, in the end, that's all that matters.
So for the 2023 season, you won the flag as that team. What was that like? How much do you reflect on that and can't believe sort of the adversity that you were able to face?
Yeah, I think the first team to win a grand final without a home ground, that's pretty special as well. But we were pretty stacked that year, and I still think we are this year too, to be honest. We're just getting better and better each year. This year we've got a young group coming through, but that year's a bit of a blur to me now, to be honest. It feels like a while ago. So
we talk about then your waffle journey. Like you said, you made your debut in 2018, played a couple of games in the back half of the season under Rob Wiley. Fast forward, and Bill's taken over, Bill Monahan. How have you developed under him and as a midfielder and how a player, and what got you to the point now where you're a genuine star of the waffle competition?
I think just my work ethic is number one. Talent doesn't work. Your work ethic's pretty crucial. So I've just really been a grinder my whole life, and I think my dad really taught me that growing up. If you really put your mind into something, you'll get to the top at it. And I haven't made the top yet, but I'm still hoping. And since Bill took over in 2019, I was there from day one, just trying to impress him, try and be the best player, try and be the easiest to be able to coach. And Yeah, I'm super grateful for what Bill's done for my football. He's played me forward in my first 3 years, and then I came into the midfield for him, and now I'm a bit of a versatile player. I can go forward whenever we're struggling there, and then into the middle if we're struggling there.
So we'll talk about then, 2019 you became a regular in the team, 2020, 2021. It was probably about 2022, though, you started breaking into being more of one of the prominent midfielders in the competition. What clicked for you, do you think?
Yeah, I think watching some of these AFL players now, Zach Butters, for example, you can't just be an inside mid these days. You have to be able to be the best at both. So I think I've really worked hard on becoming really quick and speedy, and I think that helps me a lot now. I saw a sprint coach last year and this year, Mark Neitz, and Chad Warner's seen him. He's seen a few of the AFL guys, and he's made me really. Half of it is just confidence, I think, and then the other half is speed as well. So now I can back myself on the outside and take players on and run with ball in hand.
So you talk about versatility. You're known as an inside mid, but I remember that 2023 grand final. I was being sort of shocked at the time. You ran to half forward or forward pocket and won a Simpson medal, your first Simpson medal, as essentially a tackling forward pocket. What was behind that move, and how did you and Bill come up with that strategy against Peel Thunder that day at Optus Stadium?
I guess it could have been we do it a little bit just to, I guess, stuff up their plans a bit for what they're potentially going to do with me as a player. And I think me going forward, they just, no one was really expecting that. But I really took it on. I was excited for it. I was just happy to do my bit for the team. And I guess I got lucky and won a Simpson.
But it's a big risk at the time, though, because I remember that game. There was no John O'Marsh. There was no Blaine Boakhurst. Like, you were down on stars and midfielders at the time. So to do that and take you out of the midfield, you were stacked at the time as well, obviously, but it's a big risk, isn't it, to do something like that? Or was there always an option that if things weren't going your way at the clearances that you'd be injected back in there?
Yeah, for sure. I think it happens a bit. If we're struggling in the middle, I'll go back in. But I think, Bill's footy IQ is, I think you would have heard it before, he's a bit of a genius, and he knows he is too. He'll tell you himself. So, he just put me forward, and it worked out for the best.
So then you win the Simpson medal. AFL clubs sort of start having a look at you. Was that when you started hearing from a few clubs about potentially going to the next level? Yeah,
I had a meeting with Essendon the next year, actually, after I won. Oh, it was the day before I won the next Simpson, so the next state game in 2024, I think it was. And, I met up with them the day before, and they seemed pretty keen. And then, I didn't hear much of that afterwards. And then since then, I just had West Coast this year talk to me, and
So Essendon were keen before last year's mid-season draft, and then I understand that them and West Coast were sort of sniffing around in last year's draft. Were you aware of those sort of areas, and was that something you were looking at the time before last year's draft?
Yeah, it's a tough one though, because I'm just here to play footy and enjoy that. So I try not to think about teams looking at me and scouting me that much, just because it could get to your head a bit. So I just play footy.
But then we had the extraordinary situation around this year's mid-season draft. So the day before, or a few days before, we'll go back with West Coast for the mid-season draft. They're in Adelaide taking on the Crows. Jake Waterman does his shoulder, and it opens up a second pick in their mid-season draft. They're pretty much already tied to Tom McCarthy, which we can understand why now. Yeah. But it opens up a second spot for them when he has that shoulder reconstruction. Now, my information coming across at the time was that Tuesday before the mid-season draft on the Wednesday, you had a meeting with West Coast and then a medical. How did that come about? Can you go into the day and the shock and your emotions?
It was Monday, the day before I got the meeting with them. I just got a phone call, and I just got asked to do a meeting on the Tuesday, and then Tuesday at about 10:30 in the morning, I had a live stream with about 5 scouters. They're Adelaide scouters, one's in Perth and Melbourne, and they just said, we're potentially looking at you if we get a second pick. And then Jake Waterman went down, and I got a phone call half an hour later, and they said, can you come in tonight for a medical? This is on Tuesday night. So I went in, and I guess that got my hopes up quite a bit, as you know. I told you about that. And Wednesday, I got another phone call from one of these player managers I've talked to, Morabito. He just said, inside word is they're looking for potentially going to pick up a small forward from WA with good pressure. So I was thinking, it sounds like me, but I think who they picked up, what was his name?
Jacob Newton.
Yeah, Newton. Yeah, I think he was definitely on their radar, and if he got picked up, I would have gone, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah. So the talk before the draft was Jacob Newton was going to go to Carlton, I think, with about pick 4 or 3 at the time.
Yeah, and he might have slid out.
And then he slid out, and that's when West Coast Powers had kept an eye on him. So heading into that day, what was it like waking up Wednesday morning? You say Luke Morabito from TGI rang you then. So what's that like? What's that whole process, that whole day like for you?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I've got bloody. He gets out, all my mates messaging me in group chats, like, what's going on? I'm just like, nothing, lads. Because you don't want to say anything, because then when it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean anything. So, but it was pretty surreal. It felt like I was just so close, and yeah, I'll keep trying anyway. It's the dream.
So you're an electrician by trade, or going to be an electrician by trade. I think you're in your last year of your apprenticeship. What's that like? Are you at work at the time thinking about this? Or did you take the day off? How did you try and ease your mind?
Yeah, I was actually studying at TAFE that day. So, yeah, it was pretty hard to get any work done just thinking about that. And, yeah, it's that's just me with footy. I'm always thinking about it. It's a sick obsession.
So when did you know that they weren't going to take you? Did you know before the draft, or did you find out when they announced the call?
Yeah, during, I guess. And then afterwards, Todd, one of the scouters, called me up and he was actually really good about it, He called me up and just explained, basically, this guy slid, and we've been looking at him for a while. He's a young gun, so yeah, hopefully he does well though.
So obviously you're watching it, then you hear Jacob Newton called out. What's your emotions at the time? It's obviously hard not to be disappointed. Yeah.
Oh, I was pretty devastated, but I'm a pretty hopeful guy, and I got some really good friends, good family who are just, it'll come true eventually. So I was just straight on to the next game. Yeah.
So you said it'll come true eventually. So you haven't given up hope yet, I'm assuming. Then your goal is to make the AFL.
No, more driven than ever. I'll do everything.
So you spoke about getting a sprint coach. What else are you trying to do to adapt your game? Because you're a 3-time Simpson medalist, a premiership player, very close to winning a Sandover a few times. You're not far off. What are you looking to do, those little extra things? How much did you get any feedback from them or other AFL clubs about what you've got to change or do? Or
yeah, not a lot of feedback. I think the feedback I've gotten from player managers and people at the club, people I actually do listen to and take advice from, was last year was probably my skills and my kicking, to be more damaging with that. And that's something I've really worked on. And I think I've stepped up a level with that this year. I'm hitting dangerous kicks. And I guess in that article you wrote, my goal assist was number 5 or something, which, which is a pretty cool stat to see compared to the other ones that probably I was happiest with that. So,
but it's interesting, isn't it? So you're a semi-professional athlete, essentially. Like you said, you're studying to be an electrician. You're going to be an electrician. You play WAFL. How does that go? How do you fit that in your life? Like, you train 3 times a week at the club? How often are you there? And how tough is it to manage all those things, as well as being a young man who obviously wants to have a social life?
Yeah, I actually find it so easy because I just love footy that much. So it's just like a big hobby. Something I do every day. I guess in the summer and the preseason, it's pretty hard, doing an 8-10 hour day in 35-degree heat, and then you go into a 10K session, you're pretty exhausted, but you feel good. Mentally, I think it's so healthy having that.
So how often are you at the club then, like during the
Most
week?
days, really, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Sundays I'm probably just recovering at a sauna and ice bath and that, so, but yeah, doing everything I can to get better.
Is that normal? Is that every WAFL player's there most days and doing their ice bath and sauna, or is it you doing these little extra things?
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of people do. To be honest, I try and get as many from my club doing it as well with me to make sure, everyone's healthy. But I think the stuff that does get me ahead potentially is in the preseason, I train most days as well. And then in season as well, I get to training an hour and a half early, and I'll be doing touch and, whatever I can.
So then East Fremantle this year, really good form until probably recently, a couple of little hiccups, but that's the up and down of a WAFL season. How are you seeing the side this year, and what are you looking at coming towards the second half of the season as a group?
Yeah, well, it's the best pre-season I've been a part of with East Fremantle. Like with just the new guys we've got in, and this young group are awesome. They've trained so hard. I've just been pushing them all pretty hard, and a lot of these young guys. So I'm 25 now, so I'm at that age where I'm kind of mid-age, and now I can actually see these young guys coming through. I'm not the young pup anymore, so it's pretty cool to be able to see the potential guns that are coming through the squad now.
was going to ask you about that. So obviously Matt Jupp, who's a legend at East Fremantle, premiership captain and an outstanding leader as well as player. Kyle's taken over and obviously doing a fantastic job as well. But like you said, you're 25. What have you done for the young guys yourself? Have you had to be more expressive and open yourself up a little bit more?
Yeah, I am at that age where my leadership has to be better, really. And that's something I'm also working pretty hard on because footy's a team game. So I can't just be thinking about myself all the time. So I think on field, my leadership's okay, and off field, it's something I'm definitely working on.
And then this season, does it feel similar to 2023? How is it sort of in your mind? Obviously, you've got the home base now, and it's fantastic. But what's the group feeling like on the field, and do you feel the similarities?
Yeah, it's weird because I was it was only 2 or 3 years ago, but I feel like I was a lot younger then. So it was more I was looking up to guys, and now I feel like I'm at the age where they're looking up to me to I guess guide them and lead them. So it's a bit more pressure this year with football. So, but I don't know, the positive vibes around the club. The last 2 weeks have been pretty average for us. So that is footy though. So there's always next week, and we've worked on it this week and Perth this week. This weekend will be interesting, yeah. You're
a regular in the state team. What's playing state footy like with guys you play against every week? It must be a different feeling.
Oh, I love it. It's honestly, it feels like a once in a lifetime trip, especially traveling. I just love the travel. It feels like you're playing AFL, and to be able to go with the best in the competition and play with them, it's an awesome feeling. And then afterwards, they're just, it's weird how you verse them and you just hate them all, and then for this 1 week you're just like your best mates on, in another state. So it's the best.
What about in terms of the state breakthrough this year? So I think it's the first time since 2018 from memory that you've beaten South Australia.
Yeah, I think it's our 6th win in Adelaide in forever. So it's 100 and something years.
It's incredible. What was that like?
It's crazy. Adam Reid just made this super team where it wasn't people that just get disposals in the competition. It's been picked off, people that are best at their jobs, like Noah Strom in the back line, shutting down McBean, and then, it was crazy how he's done it. And I think he got us all in a meeting, and I think he had us all in the first 2 minutes. He was just an inspiring coach.
And what was it like that win that day? It looked like a fantastic victory, and it looked like you guys were just so pumped to get that.
Yeah, it was such relief. Just, we didn't have a lot of time to prepare, so we were just focused for that 2 weeks prepping, and to win that one, it was awesome, especially for guys like Cam Erdley that have played 5 state games now and haven't won one. So it was awesome.
And now heading into finals, what do you give the chances of the Sharks, and who do you think your main competition is this season?
Yeah, I think the top 5, it seems like it's pretty set. East Perth, Claremont, Perth, South Freo. So, yeah, South Fremantle, they're looking like the team at the moment. They're doing something really well.
It's been a while since they've had a Fremantle Derby grand final. What do you reckon that would be like?
Yeah, that'd be crazy. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I can't even imagine it. It'd be awesome.
Because the WA days when they're sunny, not when they're pouring with rain like a few of them, are pretty massive derbies, aren't they? What do they like to play in, and what do you think it'd be like at Optus Stadium to do that?
Oh, I think it'd be pretty cool. There'll be so many people there. I haven't even really thought about that. I'm just thinking about the next game against Perth. But, yeah, Derby grand final would be crazy. I think it would almost just be packed, yeah.
And who's your favourite player to play against in the WAFL? You play against some really good AFL listed guys currently, and then some former AFL listed guys. Is there any guys that challenge you or you enjoy going head to head with?
Someone I enjoy is Izzy Wind. I've given him a shout out already, I think. He puts bums on seats. He's so exciting, and he's a goal kicker. He does some magical stuff. He's great.
And outside of yourself, who at East Fremantle should we be looking at in the future as a genuine star of the WAFL? There's plenty of some young guys coming through, Mitch Sadow, Chad Dunscombe. Who are we looking at?
Yeah, I'll say Jack Cleaver. He's looking like he's about to be a gun, and he's going to break out. I reckon he's already broken out this year. He's not talked about enough probably, but I think next year he'll start, doing some serious damage to teams, and they'll have to worry about him.
No, well, awesome. Well, thank you for coming in today, Milan. I greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, we are brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. This has been the West Sports Show. Thanks, Milan, for coming in. Greatly appreciate it.